onefootflipper.
Hey everybody, Paige here, the 1 Foot Flipper. It's Sunday afternoon. I've got quite a bit of work to do because I basically took yesterday off, which is a rarity for me. Before we really get started on the topic, I do want to shout out to all my new channel members. There's a bunch of them. Megan Farrell, AZ Cats-Sue, Helo's World, Mopar Dad 314, The Disgruntled Octopus, John Jerome, CM Trades, Crombie VR, also known as Funko Pop Nation, Robert DeVoe, MC Paradise, Rebuild and Flip, Carrie Gilmartin, The Merry Widow, and Quincy J. Channel members get a special little thing next to their comments. You get access to outtakes. Anything that I cut from a video of any extent, I'll probably still post up on the interior thing anyway, and just other things. Like if you're a channel member and you want me to talk about something, or you want me to mention something or tell people about something you're doing, I'm going to do it. And so we've got those new channel members. Thanks a lot to all you. Now, our topic for today is going to be 8 ways that eBay sellers get out of canceling for item out of stock. Now, I am not endorsing any of these methods in any way, although I quite often use the first one. Some of these methods are quite dishonest. I'm just telling you everything that I've ever heard from other sellers that I have talked to, mostly in person. People don't like to admit to some things, you know, when there's a trace record behind it. And as we normally do, we will mix the sales in as we go. Okay, I'm going to assume that this buyer is a viewer because he said happy belated birthday. Viewer Doug bought a whole stack of, I'm going to just say clearance RPGs. I don't have a clearance section, but all of these have been in the store for at least 2 years, have been marked down multiple times. Got these 3 Dark Realms books. These were self-published back in the 90s. They are full of clip art. They are terrible, but they're also just terribly interesting to read. So that's cool. And then various weird stuff, games that people don't follow. This Dragonlance thing with no cover I've had since I was a teenager. 7th Sea, Rodin Chronicles, and 4 Pathfinder accessories for the previous edition of the game. I think the compatibility is still pretty good with the current version, though. And I'm going to send those out. Combined shipping. The first sale is a Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game. Some of the ships are broken, need to be glued. $5.66. These are not very valuable. This came in a bulk buy. Started at $10, got all the way down to $5.66 before anybody bought it. The first thing, the most common one, the one you can get away with probably the easiest, is you message the customer when you're out of stock on the item. You know, perhaps I should explain why people are trying to get out of canceling orders for out of stock. Canceling orders for out of stock is just about the worst thing you can do on eBay. It's worse than not responding to an item not as described or a return request. It is the single worst thing you can do in eBay's eyes. They don't ever want it happening. So that first thing that some sellers do is they message and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. It appears the item was a duplicate listing sold a long time ago. Would you prefer to pick any alternate item in my store up to a X value?" You know, usually put in something a little bit higher than what the value the item really was. "Or would you prefer to cancel and get an immediate refund?" Most of the time, users who actually answer their messages will just ask to cancel, and at which point you go in and say, "Hey, the buyer asked to cancel." I've used this, never had any problem with it. I've heard of a lot of other sellers have used it, never had any problem with it at all. All right, what else we sell here? Oh, I should be doing my sales from the bottom up here. Not. I had all my items stacked up in the exact opposite order. Sold a complete set of Death Pile monsters to Josh, Second Chance Treasures on eBay. There'll be a link to his store down in the description. And I sold this Sugar Hill Gang record $8.99. All right, that second thing that a lot of sellers will do, they'll mark the item as shipped and do absolutely nothing until the buyer contacts them. That can end up going a lot of different ways. I would not be using that myself. Honestly, I probably wouldn't be using any of them other than the number one myself. But that is something that people do, and sometimes they can indeed weasel out of canceling for item not as described just by doing that. Sold humble pie, rock on, $15.29. Now, what I've tried in the past is I have marked the item as shipped and then immediately refunded the buyer. I know from experience that this can automatically get flagged as out of stock, because when I tried it a couple of years ago, it got flagged as an out of stock cancellation almost immediately. The system's looking for you to do that. It sees right through that. At least it did a few years ago. I'm sure it still would see through it right now. Poco, Crazy Eyes, whole $2.55. Not all records are good. This is a Fuel motorcycle helmet, quite generic, quite used. Sold for 10 plus shipping. Only paid $1. I bought 3 rather generic helmets at $1 each. I knew I couldn't lose on those. Somebody just eventually wants a spare helmet, and you're not going to lose in a situation like that. The fourth one, and I've heard some other YouTubers say they do this, is they ship the buyer something similar with an apology, and then they issue a full refund. But you don't tell them. If you're doing that, you do not message the buyer until after the item is picked up in the postal system. Or else you might possibly get hit with that getting flagged automatically because you issued the refund. All right, what else do we sell here? Where did it go? Oh, it's all the way back here. That's it, Paige. Drop that stuff on the ground. Sold a 1992 Sorry board game, all of $9.99 plus shipping. Yeah, not great. There's not a lot of reason why somebody would buy a 92 Sorry, I think, unless they really wanted that specific version, because I feel like it's not old enough to truly be old, and you could probably buy a current version of Sorry for $9.99 at Walmart. Sold this sealed Jake Jones, $21.99. This is going to be a local pickup. I have 2 records local pickup this weekend, which is kind of rare. All right, another thing that I've heard many sellers mention to me in person that they will do to get out of an item to get out of canceling that order is they'll just ship the buyer the wrong item entirely, and then deal with that when it happens. Apologize, refund. At least they didn't cancel. I sold a set of 3 Force of Will deck boxes. These are for your various collectible card games. $7.99 for the set of 3. Got anime characters on 2 of them. A rainbow pentagram on the other one. And I also sold for $200 this box of various accessories to the Man of War war game. It is not what it says on the box. This is not a Plague Fleet box set, although it has many items from it. Instead, it's the partial contents of 3 or 4 box sets dumped into one box. This took a while to sell, but it did sell eventually for $200. I don't think I ever even marked it down. The sixth thing, and I've heard this one is actually pretty common, is that the buyer, instead of canceling, the seller, instead of canceling that order, they will just generate a shipping label and throw it in the trash. I know this is super common with card sellers because, for one thing, that label only costs 63 cents if you're a card seller, and it never gets charged if it doesn't get scanned by the post office. And that's not an extremely weird situation for a card sale. Most of the time, if I'm refunding a card, is because indeed I shipped that card out, never got picked up by the postal system at all. It's not a frequent issue, but it's the most frequent issue that I actually end up refunding for. Or other sellers will do it for other items. They'll buy a label, just throw the money, buy the label, throw the label in the trash, or not even print it in the first place. Some of them will even smarten it up, and they'll do it UPS, so the label never ends up getting charged. And then the buyer will eventually contact them, and then they'll do it from there, but it was never a cancellation. Once again, don't suggest doing that, but a lot of people do it. Else, I sold this arcade manual for Goyendal. I had this up at $14.99. This is only a 4-page manual to a very rare but not desirable game that was designed to convert Arkanoid games. Remember, Arkanoid was the thing that was like Breakout. It had the paddle at the bottom, but it had power-ups and you could shoot the bricks out and stuff. Goyendal was an upgrade kit for that machine, and they probably only made a couple hundred of the things. So I took the first offer I was given on that, which was $10, because it could be years before anybody else would want something like that again. Sold 5 little bit train couplers, G-scale, $8.58. Now the 7th thing you can do, this is definitely getting into the area of just out and out fraud, is you could call a friend who worked in another e-commerce website, one that has lots of orders. Just get a tracking number, go into the same city, one that's not an eBay tracking number, slap it on the order. I know somebody who used to do that, and I'm not going to call them out, and they weren't doing it to try to rip the end customer off. They were just doing it to make it look like an item was shipped and then disappeared, so they could get out of that cancellation. Don't do this, people. All right, next thing I sold, Empire's Press Historical Miniatures Rules. Sold for $39.99. I think even price, so I may have never had to mark this down. Al Stewart, Ear the Cat, a whole $2.69. And Earthquake, leveled promo, not for sale, so don't buy it. $4.99. And the last one that I've heard sellers say they've done, which is very much in the fraudulent area, is they'll slit the bottom of a padded envelope or rip it open at the bottom, slap a label on it, dump it into a post box. And then it shows up, looks like the item was lost in shipping, and they then refund the buyer. Or if they're extremely fraudulent, they try to pin it on the post office, which I honestly hope nobody's doing either one of these number 8s, but trying to then claim insurance on it would be taking it to the next level. All right. Now, what I know is, should I have put this video out? Was this video a terrible idea? Because, some of these things probably have occurred to everybody out there. Am I now encouraging bad seller behavior by letting you know about the more obscure bad things that you shouldn't be doing? I hope not. Don't do these things, people. I guess, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for telling everybody about my channel, because some people must have been, because the subs keep coming in. Check and make sure that you're still subbed, though. Check out the channel membership if you want to. Other than that, bye. Hope to see you again soon.